this story could take the whole hour. But, you know, again, how do you get from here, right, to over here? And if you can imagine, 4 months before that, I was editing a sort of a reality pilot for CBS that was a cool idea that just didn't come together. The studio hated it. We spent like such long days trying to put it together, and it didn't go anywhere. And, you know, I was still at a place career-wise at the time where I was like, how am I possibly going to get to working on like bigger shows? You know, I constantly, even now, like you read like, you know, Deadline or any interview with anyone who's a success, and the story always is like, they were doing this, and then Warner Brothers offered them a movie. And you're like, wait, what happened? This is the part that we're all trying to figure out. Can someone talk about it, please? So I can't tell you. I'm kidding. There were a lot of things had to all line up correctly for that to happen. Because, I mean, you know, it was a gigantic hit show. And it was coming back on Netflix for its 4th season. It had been gone for like 4 or 5 years. It was the first like streaming comedy like that out on anywhere like on, you know, for Netflix. And I say this all the time, like in order to kind of keep advancing career-wise, you have to be good for sure, but you also have to know people and you have to get lucky. Like there's sort of no world where there's no combination of those things. Because even if you know people and you're good, you still have to get lucky. Like something really fortunate has to go your way. And in my case, a whole lot of things did. I mean, I had known, that director that I worked for, who was doing his New Line movies, I did not get to cut any of them, but it's fine. Back in like 2002, I had worked with him a lot. And 10 years later, he became one of the producers on Arrested Development. So I'd known him for a long time. And that made obviously a big difference. I was cutting that reality pilot for him, like at his production company. So I was in the building a lot, and it's so funny. You think about like the weird, dumb things you do that you don't really realize you've done. One day I remember the embarrassing stories are the most personal, right? One day we were working on that show late at night, and he showed up, with a friend of his. And I already knew that like he was probably going to end up working on Arrested Development. And I was like, man, I would love to work on that show, obviously. Forget the career part. It would just be like tremendous opportunity to be so much to learn and get better at. And anyway, he showed up, he was on his way to dinner. He's like, hey, this is my friend, Mitch. He just stopped by. And I was like, oh, hi, how's it going? And they left. And then later I was like, oh, that was the creator of Arrested Development who was just hanging out in my office for 10 minutes. And I was just like, saying stupid things, which, whatever, try not to do that. Just try to have more awareness about who's coming into your office at the time. But also, the studio, 20th Century Fox, they called all the editors who had worked on it in the past before that point. Okay. And they all said no, because it's an extremely difficult show to work on. Like there's just a lot of detail and a lot of hours. I can imagine. So that was, fortunate also. I mean, I was probably, I don't know, their 15th person on their list they called, which was fine with me. I was like, I say all the time, I'm like, I don't care. Like if I'm your last pick, just put me in and let's see what happens. You just need the chance, right? You're just going to get on the field and see what happens. Also, talking about lucky, like a few months before that, I had just cut the opening film for the Oscars with like Billy Crystal in all the different movies.
It's like there's a little piece of you in every bite.
I'm glad you like it.
What's in it?
That good vanilla from Mexico. And something else real special.
And that got a nomination for an Emmy for Best Editing, which was my first Emmy nom. And that came on a day that was 10 days before Arrested Development was starting. And for any number of reasons, it was a complicated, hectic time in the show, and like all the editors were saying no, and I knew this producer who was in charge of the show, all this, and that was sort of the final straw, and then they offered me the job that day.
Sorry, you actually can't carry those on board.
Let me start over. I am the star of Altitude magazine this month, or quarter, actually. It's an April-September issue, and I just wanted to get a copy, not flying anywhere.
Because up to that point, I kept getting told no by all these scripted shows, for like every network at that point in the preceding couple of years had told me at some point, they're like, we can't hire you. You don't have the right credits for this job. I was like, really? I was like, well, I've been cutting for 14 years at that point. Or as Roberta says, the list goes on forever. But nobody cared about any of this stuff. I mean, you can go look on IMDb. You scroll before 2012, and it's a whole different party back there.